Hi, Graham Vincent, violin maker and musician. I'm in the workshop again today. I'm actually putting purfling into these two violin bodies at the moment. So I just thought we'd press record on the phone and let you follow what I'm up to, really. So probably if I give you a little look at the equipment first of all, I'm just using a couple of cheap eBay purfling cutters. I mean, these, I think a lot of people use these with two cutters but I have one set up for the inner edge, one set up for the outer edge of the cut. It just seems to, I think you got more control that way. I've got, again, a little, I think this was a cheap Chinese one off eBay as well, actually. So not a massive investment in tools there at all, basically. And yeah, I've just started on this one, but I put the purfling into the upper and lower bout on this one, but I haven't done the C bout yet. I was waiting for all the glue to set completely, because I've got this theory that I've never done it like this before, but I've got this theory that actually if I do it that way, I can really get the corners working nicely. But we'll see. That might be a bad idea. I don't know. The bench is an absolute disgrace, I'm afraid, which is slightly embarrassing. But anyway, there we go. So let me set this up. Let's put it back there. It's not the ideal view, but hopefully you'll see what I'm up to. So yeah, right. In fact, maybe if I swing that around that way a bit, then I think you get a better view. Certainly get a better view of my stomach. And I think probably, where are we? Right, so probably get a better view of what's going on that way. Okay, so on we go, really. So what I'm going to do first of all is take this one round to there. So yeah, I mean I've got the offset right. I'll just check there's no lumps or anything on there, and away we go. The inner line is easy enough, because obviously if you go wrong on that one, it ends up just cutting into what is going to be where the purfling is, so it's kind of waste effectively. And do you know what, I might angle that up a little bit more. How's that? Does that matter? Yeah, it probably is. So yeah, that's kind of just waste. So I'll do it a little bit at a time. So you see I'll just cut that line through to there. Then I'll get the other cutter. Put the other line in. This is the Spanish cedar violin body. And I have to say, one of the characteristics of Spanish cedar appears to be that it's really nice to work on, which is handy. And it's just like a little first, second, and I chip that up. Now, do you know what? I don't think, I think the amount I've chipped up is actually going to be coming off anyway. So I won't worry about that, but I will. It has made me realise that I need to extend the cut back this way a little bit. Yeah, that's a bit deeper than I thought, actually. Oh, right, okay, so I'm going to pop some glue on there, hold that down, and get on with the upper bout instead. So let me think, what glue am I going to use? I'm actually going to use a little bit of aliphatic resin because I haven't got the glue pot on the go at the moment. I don't want to use super glue on the front because that tends to seal up the grain too much. It's difficult to. I mean, you'll see it later. You'll see it later when it comes to the varnishing stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue in there and fold that back into place. Don't know if you can see that. Where are we? It's there. I think we got away with it. Yeah. Got away with it. Well, I can finish off the rest of this bit anyway. I will have to go over that bit again before I put the purfling in. That's annoying, isn't it? So it's there, so I'll just leave that a bit. Never really sure how to use this. I mean, you can hook it out that way, but of course, if you're lifting up, then you tend to break things out. So what I often do is just kind of chip it in like that and pull the stuff along in the slot, which kind of puts less strain on the surrounding timber. I think you're less likely to chip out that way, but I'm sure a lot of people will be screaming, saying that's not how you use it. Well, it is how I use it, apparently, some of the time, when I'm feeling like it. And having just split that bit out already, you know, if this wood is susceptible to that, it might be, then I'll do it this way. Certainly on the short grain bit anyway. Oh, I managed to stab myself with this thing. It's quite sharp. It's a bit of a time-consuming job, this. I just want to say the snoring noise is nothing to do with me. That's more to do with Cassie over here, who's doing her best impression of being a little piglet, I would say. I keep thinking of making a copy of an old English violin. One of the things that the English makers, do you know what, I am actually going to do that. I'm going to hold that down and cut it with. One of the things the English makers used to do was not bother with purfling, and they used to just, a lot of them, that is, not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them used to just draw the purfling on some quite good instruments, actually, which is a bit of a surprise. Right, so it looks like I've managed to, yeah, got away with it. Excellent. There we go. So that flake is still in place, and I've managed to clean out the slot as well. That's good. So it's quite tempting to do what I'm doing now, which is just to use the marking as just marking and then follow it up with a scalpel. That's or a violin maker's knife, some sort. That's all very well and good unless you stray out of the track that you've marked. This could be a very boring video. I'm not planning to do much editing, but I might just do a little high-speed bit at some stage. Once you've seen, maybe once I got up to here, I might do the next bit high speed. And you know what I'm going to do as well? I think I've done the other one in sections. I think on this one I'm going to put the slot in all the way round so that I've got a compare and contrast kind of going on, so that it can kind of, because I can't make up my mind which is the sensible approach, and now having the two to compare I think is probably a good idea. At least I can make a sort of a reasoned choice at that point. So I've done this purfling slot in different ways over the last few years. I started off using something akin to this, but with two blades in it at the same time, so you were cutting both sides. It was all right. I prefer what I'm doing at the moment. And then after that, for a while, I moved over to using, where is it? Well, one of those a little cheap generic Dremel style rotary tool with a sort of, with a jig that I botched up. It was kind of, it was all right, but you kind of felt if it went wrong, you weren't going to get a second chance to do the slot. You know, it was going to have made a real mess of the front or the back at that point, you know. And so it was a bit all or nothing, success or total failure. And as I've heard it said many times, that a lot of furniture making, a lot of woodworking, and therefore by default a lot of luthiery is about how well you can hide your mistakes. I don't think you'd be able to hide a significant mistake with that router. The purfling I'm using is just some stuff I got off eBay years ago. I bought a whole massive bundle of it. It's all right, but I'm looking forward to finishing it off, and I'm getting quite close to having finished that bundle. So I think I'm kind of thinking at that point I might start to do start to make my own in a very traditional way. Either that or I have actually been thinking I might move over to just using a single line of pear wood, because I love the colour that pear is, and I was thinking just one slightly heavier line just on its own would be quite striking actually. But anyway, that's just me thinking aloud. We'll see. Oops. This is... I'm just... One of the things about filming myself at work is you get to see the rough bits as well as the good bits. And this is actually... I'm not exactly proud of how this is going just at the moment, and it's looking a bit ropey. This is one of those... I mean, there's several jobs in violin making that I kind of, well, aren't my favourite, shall we say. This is probably one of them. For the beast thing, I mean, basically, I'm using the guide round to about there, and then I'll do the shaping of the rest by eye with a knife. Take that a little bit further. And I'll just put a little bit there as well, so I can see what I'm aiming for. Right, my phone has just said low battery, so hang on a minute. Let me just plug in maybe. Plug in that. There we go. Should be right now. the purpose of purfling? Who knows? I think it's just there. I mean, people say, oh, it sort of helps stop splitting from the edge of the soundboard on the back. But the those old English violins with just the inked on purfling, they don't seem to split any more or any less than one with purfling. I think it's just there as an expression, you know. It's an elegant, nice, simple line around it. It looks good. I think it really is just it's a chance for the maker to show off a tad. Much like scroll carving, really. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either. Oh, it's coming along nicely now. Talking about purfling, this is let me show you something which I use for this, because this is quite a tight fit in this slot. So I'm using hide glue on this. So what hide glue does, of course, any squashed timber, it sort of plims it up again, and that actually has the effect of tidying up the slot a little bit in itself, because it kind of tightens it up a bit, you know. But also it made me think, well, what if we squashed the purfling a little bit? So I don't know if anyone else does this. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but I just got this block which I put two bearings onto, and I use it to sort of crush the purfling a bit. Okay. Now, so one end not being squeezed is 1.35, and the other end that has been squeezed is 1 mil. Okay, so it's crushed it down quite a lot. There's another thing, of course, and that is the thinner it is, and this effectively makes it thinner, the more able you are to make tight bends, because the distance, I mean, the reason that timber snaps when you bend it is because, you know, you're trying to sort of make the outside longer and the inside shorter, so it'll only go so far before, you know, it does that. Whereas if they're closer together, then you can actually get a tighter bend on it, and it's almost at the point where you can just put it straight in. Right, so you could there. And then the other thing, the hide glue, which is obviously hot and wet, makes this plim back up again. So it's easier to drop it in the slot. It's easier to bend it around that curve, and it plims up again afterwards. So it's kind of a bit of a win-win. That little way of doing it. Like I say, it's not something I learned from anyone else, but having thought of it, it just seems so obvious that I'm sure other people do it, or something very similar. This is taking ages today. I do apologise. Do, 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 do. Sounds like the dog's woken up. This blade, this has got a very, very, very thin end on it, which is great because it means you can cut quite deeply without pushing the fibres around too much either side of it. Also means it's not very strong. You have to be quite careful. You don't snap the tip off, which I've done a couple of times in the past. I've had to rework the blade. This bit here is quite vulnerable. Got to make sure I don't snap that off. That little patch of wood there. Okay, that's looking good. My aim this afternoon is just to get this purfling slot around here and see if I can manage that today. Got a nice big cup of tea here anyway, so the dog's behaving, so hopefully won't have too many interruptions. Sniffing away, sorry. It's interesting. You can get a good idea about this. It's going to be quite responsive. It's I think it's going to have quite a rich sound, actually. As you know, when I started this particular violin, I actually thought I was dealing with sort of a mahogany as such, but it's turned out to be Cedrilla odorata, which I'm really happy with, to be honest, because it's a wood I've looked at before. Those, I mean, you must have all noticed that cigar box guitars and what have you, what everyone says about them, sometimes they sound surprisingly good. And I was thinking, I'd love to get hold of some of that one day. And lo and behold, here it is. I thought it'd be rather funny to stick some cigar labels on the side of this. I won't, but it did cross my mind. Let's just lay out that corner before we cut too far with this. length for this bit. It's where you have these kind of short-grained bits that I think you're most at risk of damaging the surrounding timber, you know, sort of going off course, if you like. Breaking bits off. Generally cocking it up. Some of the local dogs having a barking session out there, but Cassie seems to be quite content over there. I don't know, maybe you didn't hear them barking, in which case you'd be wondering what on earth I'm going on about. Something made the dog bark. I think it's the neighbour's workshop backs onto mine. And I think occasionally if he leans something up against the wall, it gives quite a loud kind of noise, like a sort of bump. I think it was that. Just checking for any lumps and bumps, bits of glue or anything. There's a bit of a lump there. Let's get rid of that. Not much, just a little bit. This, following it around with a knife, is slightly harder in spruce, in fact, than it is in the hardwood section. So this one having a hardwood front, is kind of making it easier. And the reason it's harder is not because the wood itself is hard, it's because of the difference between the summer growth, you know, the actual, the rings, if you like, are much more notably different in sort of in softwood than they are in hardwood. So you end up going along going bub, 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 up and down, which you don't. I mean, this is beautifully homogeneous, isn't it? And I'm sure. I mean, it feels it to me. I'm sure you can tell that on the video, I suspect. You've got to be a little bit careful you don't cut too far, obviously. Oh, just strayed a little bit off the line there. That's another thing you really got to be wary of. If you're effectively cutting against the grain, as I was there, so if it's going to stray, it's going to stray into the wood that you want to keep rather than the waste. You do have to be a little bit careful. Yeah, but you don't want to cut too deep either, because we're talking about something which is only sort of approaching 4mm thick there. Quite easy just to cut the edge off. Get away right down to the rib. So this is the first time I've put purfling into this cedar, and you probably noticed me speeding up as I go already. I'm already getting used to how it feels and how it works compared with spruce or maple or ash or what have you. So this is becoming easier by the minute, luckily. That's normally the sort of thing I say just before something goes stupidly wrong, so perhaps I shouldn't have said anything. This is asking for trouble, isn't it? little flake there. That's really annoying. Let's just pop a bit of glue in that as well. Okay, let's just cut this bit by dragging the pick along rather than prizing that out. I think that's going to work better, isn't it? Yeah, that's better. It's my own fault. Anyway, nothing that can't be sorted out. There we go. Right. So it's taken kind of just over an hour to do the slot for that. I've been working a little bit slowly because it's a bit awkward working with the camera right in front of you. It gets in your way. But let's say it's an hour. So there's 4 hours that would be for cutting the slots, all the purfling slots. Actually putting the purfling in is a bit of a faster operation than that. So probably 6 hours absolute maximum, really, start to finish. Should see the all the purfling done from start to finish. Just if that's a bit of an indicator. Anyway, I hope for your sake that I've done a little bit of editing and this isn't an hour-long video. But see you soon. Look after yourself, folks. Cheers. Bye.